Hey, howdy, friends. It's Steve DePoe here with the Rose Realty Team again with this week's real estate vlog for North Texas. Today, we're going to talk about behind the scenes of your typical, I don't know if typical is the correct word, but typical real estate transaction. A lot of people, a lot of people say, "Hey, this went so smoothly," or you guys met every deadline or every date or whatever. But behind the scenes, a lot of stuff happens that your typical buyer and seller don't even know that's going on. Oh, we'll talk you through it and we'll tell you what's going on, and we'll tell you, here's the steps in the process. We have that for all of our processes and all of our transactions. But a lot of people say, "Hey, these things happened. A lot of stuff was going on, and we didn't know. You know, we didn't know all these things happened. You just made it so smooth and so stress-free for us that it was great." And so we'll talk about a little bit about the behind the scenes, what's going on in your typical real estate transaction. But before we get into that, hey, do me a favor, please, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. That's youtube.com/at moving to Dallas, Texas. There you'll have access to all of our vlogs we've ever done, all of our videos. And if there's something that you were thinking about, hey, I remember this video about the unique features of Denton, or the cultural aspects of Dallas or something like that. Hey, you can go there, you can rewatch that video, and you can have a lot of fun with it. There's also a lot of educational and important stuff there about buying and selling your house, financing, mortgages, whatever. And by having access to that, you'll be the smartest person in your neighborhood and in your carpool. You still have carpools? I don't know. Anyway, you'll be the smartest person in your neighborhood, and in your little tribe there. And so it'll just be a big benefit to you, and it'll help us out as well. So we thank you for that, and we appreciate you for your support of our channel here, and as well as our real estate business. We appreciate that. Thank you. Okay, so number one, so what you've done is you've decided to buy or sell, okay, and you talk to a buyer's agent or a listing agent, and you say, "Hey, what's the value of this home?" Okay, how much should we put an offer in? They listed it at this, or the house down the street listed at this. What should we list my house at? So what an agent does is they perform what's called a competitive market analysis, or a CMA. Okay, some new terms for that, like competitive value analysis and those kinds of things. I stick with the oldies but the goodies. I would still call it the CMA as far as you and I are concerned, and that determines the home's fair market value, and to make sure that it's competitively priced both on the buyer and the seller side. So on the seller side, the agent's going to sit there and say, "You've got so many square feet, so many bedrooms, so many baths, so many car garage, et cetera, et cetera." And based upon the houses that have sold, or the houses that are marketed in a closely knit sort of area, okay, here's how much your house should sell for. Now, look, I hate to say it, okay, but let me put a pin in that, and that can really only be done in person. Okay, hey, I can do a CMA for you, online, doing a lot of research online and all that kind of stuff. I've got a lot of tools at my disposal, and I can do that. I can send that to you, and I can do that. Okay. However, that doesn't show me the improvements that you've made, what the best features of the house are. Or, okay, so you've got a kitchen. That's great. Maybe you upgraded the kitchen and upgraded the cabinets a year ago, where the person down the street did not. Okay, so the best way for you to get a fair, up to date, and complete market analysis is for us to see your house up close and in person. Okay, so that's sort of number one. And so let's go back to the pin. I hate to say it, okay, but once you decide to sell your house, there's two things that happen. The house is sort of no longer yours, so which means you have to keep it clean and you have to keep it tidy and you have to keep it straightened. And when somebody wants to see it, you have to get out and all of that kind of stuff. And that stinks. I know, I get it. Okay. But it's also now at this point a business decision. Okay. We have to try to take emotion out of it. Okay. And so if your house is 110% identical to the house down the street around the corner that sold last week for $500,000, okay, it's hard for us to then say your house should sell for 150, excuse me, 500. What did I say? The house sold for 500,000. It's hard for us to now say your house is going to sell for 550. Okay. Why? It's 110% identical. Okay. Maybe you need the extra 50,000 out of it. My house is better than that house. But if it actually is 100% identical, there's no reason it's going to sell for any more or any less. Okay. We would encourage you then to price it accordingly. Okay. So it's not, so people who come in, agents who come in and say, yes, there's a house around the corner that's 100% identical that sold last week for 500, but your house should sell for 600. Throw them out of your house. I mean, it's just a waste of time. It's just a waste of your time. Okay, and you're going to get frustrated with the process. Okay, so it's data driven at that point, and that's what the price of your house should be. Sorry, but that's kind of like the way it is, right? Okay, so we have a title company. What the title company does is they investigate, the title company or attorneys investigate the property's title and verify that you're the owner, and check for any liens, encumbrances, or legal issues that need to be resolved before the sale. So let's take a look at that word attorney first of all. So all of the forms and stuff that we use in Texas are developed by real estate attorneys, and they're called what's promulgated throughout Texas, which means every real estate agent in the state of Texas is going to use the same forms. Okay. And so what we basically say is because they were developed by real estate attorneys, there's no real need for you to go out and hire a real estate attorney to to honcho your transaction. However, if you want to be my guest, and we can recommend a real estate attorney to you. But because these forms are developed by real estate attorneys and they've been passed over, not passed over, but they've been reviewed, they've been inspected, and all of that good stuff. Um, Everybody uses them, and you would just end up spending more money, if you were to hire a real estate attorney. Nothing wrong with it if you want to go ahead, but when you come down to it, I'm not recommending that you do or don't, but because the forms were developed by real estate attorneys, it's not necessarily necessary, but it's your right and your privilege to hire one if you want to. Okay. I hope I didn't get myself in any trouble there. Anyway, so now there are these liens and encumbrances, et cetera. So if you didn't pay your HOA dues, the HOA is going to like put a lien on your house until you pay your HOA dues. If you had somebody come in, a landscaper come in and install a fountain, but you didn't like the way they did it, and you're saying, well, I'm not paying you until you fix it, and he won't fix it, he's going to put a lien on your house. He's what's called a mechanic's lien. He's going to put a lien on your house to make sure that he eventually gets his money. And sometimes, contractors do that just to make sure. There might not be any fighting back and forth. They may just say, let's put a lien on it, make sure we eventually get paid, and then once the job is done, they take the lien off. But anyway, what the title company does is make sure that the house is free and clear. It's your right to sell it, but the house is free and clear, and that there's not going to be anybody saying, "Hey, I want my piece," once you sell it. So we all understand, where that's coming from. Now your real estate agent is going to negotiate a ton of stuff for you. Okay, is going to negotiate not only the price, but contingencies, timelines, repair amendments, to make sure that both parties are happy. That's why there's a seller's agent and there's a buyer's agent. So the buyer's agent obviously represents the buyer in the house, and the seller's agent represents the person who's selling the house, or sometimes they call them the listing agent as well. But they're going to represent them, and then the buyer's agent is going to represent the buyer. Why? Because you get both ends, not necessarily fighting, but wanting to negotiate price and repairs and all these things, and you want to be represented and not try to, generally speaking, you want to be represented by a real estate professional and not trying to do it on your own. Because I kind of said a little bit in the slide one, it's a business decision. We want to take emotion out of it. And so that's why maybe having a third party like a real estate agent negotiating on your behalf. Now they're not going to do anything without your okay, but negotiating on your behalf is sort of a smart idea. Now the buyer's lender then evaluates the financial documents, not only of the mortgage, but also obviously the buyer's credit, the buyer's um, um, W-2s and W-4s and all that kind of stuff to make sure that they can afford, to buy that particular house, and they do have the money and the salary and that kind of stuff. They're also going to look into we're also going to look into your credit and how much you're paying on a monthly basis on revolving credit and those kinds of things. So it behooves you, to number one, um, um, keep your loans and your debts and stuff lower when you're buying. So don't go out and buy a car. Don't go out and buy a bunch of furniture. Before you buy the house or before you start looking, it's best to keep that debt as low as possible. And so what the lender will do is go out and check your background. It's always good before we start looking for a house to have a letter from the lender to say, yep, this person can afford this house. That way, for me, when I go into negotiations and I say, okay, you've got two other offers, but my client here has already been approved for a mortgage for an excess of this amount of money, has already been approved for this mortgage, and we can close quicker. Okay, and that's what it's all about, getting that timeline down so that the seller then can get on with their lives, and you can start your lives in your new house. We're going to inspect. We're going to schedule a home. We're going to schedule a home inspection. Now we kind of covered that on a previous video, but we're going to negotiate any issues that come up, anything that you want repaired. I'm going to, as your buyer's agent, I'm going to advise you on stuff that should be repaired, and stuff that, generally speaking, just is sort of a isn't going to get approved for repair because everybody has the same issues, like caulking on windows and that kind of stuff, right? But we're going to negotiate back and forth repairs, and either get the repairs done by the seller or get a credit for you, the buyer, so that you can get those repairs done either when you move in or before you move in. So now there's the escrow company. What the escrow company does is they handle all the funds. Okay. So which means as the buyer, typically you're going to put down, when we create the contract, you're going to put down 1% of the value of the house, and $100 for option money. Why we have that, I don't know sometimes, but $100 for the option money. Okay. And so what the escrow company is going to do, also that could also be the title company. They're going to take that money and they're going to put it in the bank, and that's going to be still your money. You might get that back. Excuse me. There may be a time during the transaction where you get that money back because maybe the deal falls through or something like that. However, generally speaking, that's eventually that money is going to be credited to your part of the transaction, and it's going to be taken off of the price of the house. And so anything that the seller has to come up with, for example, maybe the homeowner's warranty, or maybe they have to Or maybe they said that they're going to do a lease back, and it's going to be so many dollars, and we're going to hold maybe we're going to hold some money in escrow in order for them to do something, maybe the lease back or something else, whatever. Then the escrow company or the title company is going to hold that money as well. It shouldn't be either one of the agents. It should be the escrow or the title company that holds this money, because they're blessed by the state of Texas, to be able to do so. The agents and attorneys then will make sure that the transaction itself adheres to local and state laws. Okay. And that any homeowners association requirements are adhered to and blessed. We're also gonna get you a copy of the HOA bylaws um, and specifics in terms of the HOA rules, etc. You can't have a green door, that kind of stuff, right? But we're going to get you that information, and then we're going to make sure that everything that you want to do, in the house when you buy it, is going to be in accordance with HOA rules. So, for example, if you're going to move into a neighborhood that has a strong HOA, chances are it's not going to be ag approved. Okay, very few of those in the area. And so, if you're thinking you're going to have horses and sheep and a cow, yeah, it's not going to happen. And so we're just going to have to go on. You're going to have to take a pass on that one and go off and look for another house for you. And then lastly, we're going to coordinate between the buyer's agent, the selling agent, the lenders, the documents, the closing, scheduling appointments, confirming funds have been deposited, funds have been have been paid. And then we're gonna help you understand what the closing costs are going to be. So you can see that there's a lot involved with the transaction. A lot of it takes place behind the scenes. Some of it you're not even aware of. You just so there. I've had many clients as we're working behind the scenes here doing these things. They just say, just tell me when the closing date is and what check I have to bring. And there's some that every little step of the way want to know exactly what's going on, and we work with all kinds of buyers and sellers. We accommodate each one professionally. So I hope that helped, and it's just helping understand a little bit about what goes on behind the scenes. Hey, next week we'll talk about financing your home purchase. It used to be just I remember when I bought my first house, it was going to be the only things were really whether it was going to be a 30-year fixed or 3-year adjustable or a 5-year adjustable, and that was like pretty much it, right? Now there's all kinds of different financing possibilities along, fixed, adjustable, W-2 loans, all kinds of different stuff. And so we're going to talk about a lot of those and see which one of those may fit into for your plans for purchase. And know that it just isn't, how much I make and how much I got in the bank. This is Steve. I am with the #1 Rose Realty Team. Thanks for watching.